Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati, where the weather has cooperated. We're set for Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. Rain-shortened series. The Cubs go for the 2-game weekend sweep over the Reds. Hope your weekend is going well. Jim DeShays and Len Casper. We sat here all day yesterday before they eventually postponed it. Nice win for the Cubs in extra innings on Friday.
Yeah, indeed it was. A lot of good things happened for the Cubs in that ball game. John Lester made the start, was really, really good, and they came from behind. They've done that 3 times on this trip.
Chris Coughlin with his 3rd home run leading the team so far this season. That tied the game in the 7th inning off Mike Leake, and then Bert Badenhop gave it up in the 11th inning. Chris Bryant put a couple of men on for Jonathan Herrera. Go-ahead RBI single for the versatile Herrera. The Cubs would add on 3 more runs, 2 coming in on the David Ross double. So that made it 7-3. Pedro Strop came on, got the final 3 outs, and Anthony Rizzo just continues to hit.
Yeah, he's had an unbelievable road trip. He was 3 out of 4. The bullpen, we have to highlight the work they did in that ball game. 5 scoreless innings for the pen that had struggled a little bit in Pittsburgh.
So we moved to yesterday. They had a sellout crowd here, and unfortunately the weather did not do its part. Tarp sat on the field pretty much all afternoon. We had conflicting forecasts, JD, and some of the radar showed that the rain was moving away from the city, but it basically rained all day long.
Yeah, we were tempted. We've got, like, we're going to start at 2. We're going to start at 3:15. We're going to start at 4. Ultimately, we never started. Now let's take a look at the road trip recap. All 3 of those wins had come from behind fashion. The Cubs scoring better than 5.5 runs per game. And if you're looking for an MVP of the road trip, how about Anthony Rizzo hitting .526? He's been on base 15 times in these 5 games.
Pitching matchup today will be the same as what we would have seen yesterday, and we'll get into that when we return to Cincinnati. Cubs and Reds are coming up. Budweiser, still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Honda Dream Garage Sales Event. Now it's your Honda dealer. Napa, home of Napa know-how. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Cubs come in at 9-7. The Reds are at 8-9. Let's talk pitching. Jake Arrieta got this trip off to a winning start, and he'll get the ball again today.
You like his chances here this afternoon. He's been really good in all 3 of his starts this year. He pitched against the Reds back at Wrigley early, was good in that game, and he was really good in his start against Pittsburgh on this trip. Had everything going for him, attacking early, strike one to most of their hitters, the cutter, the slider, the change, everything in his arsenal. Really good in that start against the Pirates. The numbers back it up. 7 innings, he allowed 4 hits, 1 run, didn't walk a single batter, and struck out 7.
2-2 in his career against the Reds. One of those losses came to Anthony DeSclafani a couple of starts ago at Wrigley Field. He has not allowed a run in his last 15 innings.
Yeah, he followed up that outing right there with 8 shutout innings against the Brewers. A young guy we don't know much about, but he's off to a great start. He leads the National League with an .086 earned run average.
It's only a 2-game series, but the Cubs looking for their first sweep of the young season, and they'll try to do that disco dance in the clubhouse after this one. Cubs and Reds coming up.
There, left, center, right. Castro, Russell in the middle. Bryant, Rizzo on the corners. Montero behind the plate. Arrieta on the mound. The numbers on Jake: 3 starts, all quality starts. 2-1 with a 1.74 ERA. League hitting 184 against him. Those 22 thirds innings, 12 of those innings have gone 3 up, 3 down for him.
Cornerman pinched in against Billy Hamilton. 2 hits, 3 steals, 2 runs on Friday night. Leading the majors with 12 stolen bases.
Yeah, and Addison Russell made a play on him in his 3rd at bat, leading off the 5th inning, I believe it was. And you know, it's hard to make the claim that taking away a leadoff single is a run-saving play, but in my mind it was, because if Hamilton got on, he likely would have scored.
They'll take Rizzo right to first base.
Although it was a tough day for Addison Russell at the plate, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts, he made a significant impact with that defensive play. A couple real gems on this road trip for the Cubs. Denorfia and Pittsburgh the other day with an outstanding play.
He's getting used to second, maybe playing a little deeper than guys normally would over there, just to
give him a little longer, a little more time to make a read on the ball.
Joey Votto making his 855th career start with Brandon Phillips in the same lineup. Swing and a miss. So that's the most starts on the right side of the infield for any duo in Reds history. And the only active pairing with more starts together, that's lifted to right and caught by Soler. Ryan Howard and Chase Utley have started almost 1,100 games together with the Phillies. Wondering about Bagwell and Biggio.
Yeah, they had a long run.
Now Todd Frazier. Curve for a strike. That is a really good pitch for Jake Arrieta, but it's not one he uses a ton. Mainly it's that slider, which he just threw right there. Had that cutting action once it gets up into the 90s.
And he'll throw it to both sides of the plate. He'll manipulate that pitch where he'll flatten it out and run it in on the hands of a left-handed hitter, or he'll get on top of it, take a little off and get more depth.
Broken bat roller to Castro. 1, 2, 3 go the Reds. Nothing. We played an inning. Cubs. Cubs selfies at hashtag WGN Cubs. We may use it in today's fan cam segment. JD playing air trumpet as Chris Bryant leads off the second.
I defy you to hear that song and not at least tap your toe. But I think that was superfan Natalie in that selfie. Couldn't tell with the glasses.
Yeah, you might be right. Bryant pops it up as he played for Votto. And now Miguel Montero. One driven deep to left. Bird is back. He will not have a play. It's gone. Number 3 for Montero and his 100th career home run. Hopefully a Cub fan caught it and he can get it.
First pitch swinging. Opposite field home run for Miguel Montero, and that's a good approach against that either two-seamer or changeup, but diving down and away from Montero. He stays on it and is rewarded for his solid approach. The blue shirts are jumping out there in the stands.
So congrats to Montero on a milestone homer. And that ends the scoreless streak for DeSclafani at 16 innings. Astro fouls. Now we want to welcome those watching us on MLB.TV. I guess they were having some audio issues and could not hear all your clever quips at the top of the first.
I'm sorry. I had my A game early, and I can't promise you that the rest of the way.
Lined to Bosch in right.
Cub fans, let's go. The Cubs return to action tomorrow night at Wrigley Field. The Pirates are in for 3, and then over the weekend, it's the Milwaukee Brewers. Tickets are still available for each and every game. Get your tickets at Cubs.com.
10th annual Race to Wrigley charity run happened yesterday morning. Great success for Cubs charities. They had over 6,000 participants. So great work by the entire Community Affairs Department, Stadium Ops, communications with the Cubs. Race to Wrigley has raised over $1.4 million over the last decade for Cubs charities. I did 5K on the
Did you? Is that kind of a sympathetic thing?
Yeah. Coughlin finds the gap. Hamilton races it down, but Chris will have a double. Well, the lefties in this inning squaring up a couple of balls to the other way.
Yeah, that's a little slider over the plate, but down, and Coughlin really good when he goes that way. That's kind of his natural stroke. His home run to left Friday off of Leake. Billy Hamilton can turn doubles into singles and triples into doubles with his wheels out there. And his arm. He's got a very strong throwing arm as well.
Here's the pitcher, Arrieta, and low for a ball. I don't know about you, but I see a lot of stuff about the Cubs pitcher hitting 8th in the lineup, and a lot of fans have still not warmed up to the idea. Joe said he's not married to it, but so far he likes it. The thing people need to consider is it's not about the pitcher. It's not about the 8 spot as much as 9 through 3. I know somebody's getting on their keyboard right now saying, see, pitcher's coming up with a guy at second.
But there would be times if he were in the 9 hole, he would come up with a guy on second.
Yep. And if he makes an out, you've got that quote second leadoff guy
right
in the next inning.
So I'm I'm open to it. I'm not swayed one way or the other. I just want to see it play out and see what ultimately what the numbers say. If it proves to provide more opportunities for those guys in the middle of the order. Offensively, the Cubs have been really good this year. They're averaging better than 4.5 runs per game. Only the Dodgers and the Padres better in the National League.
Swing and a miss by
How can
Arrieta.
you have him in the 8-hole?
Montero with his 100th career blast. And the Cubs have the lead. Everybody dance. On the WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner and connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Brandon Phillips. Ground ball bobble. Castro still has time. Not a great throw, but dug out by Rizzo.
Four quick outs for Arrieta. 3 on the ground. This looks fairly routine until then. Probably needed a little more sense of urgency after the bobble, but he got his guy.
Now Brennan Bosch, 2 out of 12, making his 3rd start. Now has started at all 3 outfield spots. So the reaction to the pitcher batting 8th question is a lot of people saying, well, in that spot they probably walk Russell to get to the pitcher anyway. I don't think so this early. With the first base open, I think Sclafani would have pitched to Russell. But yeah, later in the game, maybe. Might have just walked him anyway to get to the pitcher spot. One question, when do real outcomes start to outweigh theoretical effect? I think probably you have to watch it over the course of a full season, don't you? To really kind of understand if it works
I don't know.
or not.
I don't know what the stats guys would say. And I imagine they've compiled numbers not only from what Joe's doing here, but from what other managers have done over time around the league. Tony La Russa played with it years ago. Had the pitcher hitting in the 8-hole when he had McGuire and then Pujols.
Some of the reaction is, why wouldn't every manager do it if it's an advantage? Well, I think one of the main reasons is convention and kind of the glacial pace at which changes are made in baseball. You're not going to see everybody do it at once. Look at shifting. It was pretty gradual, and then there was a point where if you weren't shifting, there's that tipping point where if you don't shift,
you became the outlier.
Your owner or your GM or somebody starts to ask questions. Wait a minute, why is everybody doing this and you're not? So Will this become the norm? I'm not saying that, but if it's proven that it works, it will at some point.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of be working against your best interests if you didn't adopt it, if there are numbers to support it. Again, if you have the right personnel. For me, this works if you've got a good on-base guy in the 9-hole.
Bosch bounces to Castro, handled that one cleanly. 3 straight groundouts to short.
This season at Wrigley Field, the Cubs will feature Budweiser Bleacher Fridays on select dates throughout the season. Budweiser Bleacher Fridays will include the pregame entertainment, exclusive giveaway items, special food and beverages, and more. There's always more. For more information and to buy your Budweiser Bleacher tickets, visit Cubs.com, and there's a look at some of the dates where you can come out and enjoy the festivities.
Former Cub Marlon Byrd off to a slow start. Did have 2 hits on Friday and homered on Thursday in Milwaukee. A couple of quirks for the Reds. Byrd, 62 plate appearances. He has not walked yet. Brandon Phillips does not have an extra base hit yet. And he's been hitting cleanup for a while and hitting for a high average, but not for power.
Yeah, and he doesn't walk either. The Reds, excuse me, have not played a game outside the division yet. That will happen at the end of the month when they play the Braves. Well, so if you're Jake Arrieta and you know that Marlon Byrd hasn't worked a walk yet this year, and Bird's always been a free swinger, a guy who's willing to chase. You're ahead in the count. Go ahead and take a couple shots out of the zone and see if he'll get himself out. I'm going to try to jam him here.
And he'll get the desired result. Ball's been on the ground for the most part. 6 outs, 5 have been ground outs. Cubs lead 1-0. By Xfinity. You referenced this earlier on the defense, and a huge play just to keep Hamilton from continuing to divert the attention of John Lester.
Yeah, marvelous play by Russell. Hamilton was leading off the 5th inning. His previous 2 at-bats, he'd singled and worked his way around the bases with his speed. Scored both times.
Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Brilliant play by Russell. At the plate, he looks a little in between, a little indecisive with his swing the other night.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
it's not like he's flailing away and chasing a lot of bad pitches. He's getting beat by a lot of pitches, and that's what I mean by in between. He's been a little late on the fastball and a little non-committal on the breaking pitch.
It's a good hard slider by DeSclafani at 88 miles an hour. Fowler way up in the air, and this one's going to make the seats off to the right.
DeSclafani, obviously, well, every starting pitcher an important piece to their team, but Homer Bailey coming off the DL, he's kind of been up and down. Johnny Cueto's been Johnny Cueto. The Cubs have been fortunate they have not faced Cueto in either of the two series they've played the Reds. Latos is gone. Alfredo Simon, who was an all-star last year, is gone. So big opportunity for the likes of DeSclafani here.
There's the Reds ace in his free agent season. Squibbed right to Frazier, makes the play. 2 outs.
Every Sunday afternoon is Kids Sundays at Wrigley Field. This Sunday, April 19th. That's not this Sunday, is it? We've gone by April 19th. Anyway, next Sunday after the ball game, the first 1,000 kids 13 and younger will be allowed on the field to run the bases. For more information, visit Cubs.com.
May 3rd.
Sunday. May 3rd. Thank you.
Upcoming homestand: Pittsburgh for 3, Milwaukee for 3 with an off day Thursday.
You can tell it's early in the year because later in the year I would have no clue that was the wrong date. It sounds perfectly logical to me.
Votto able to stay on the bag on what should have been routine. Inning over in the 3rd. It's 1-0 Cubs.
Still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you and you alone.
Jake Arrieta back to work. He was not thrilled with the starting and stopping nature of yesterday. As he breaks another bat, Cozart grounds out to Bryant.
Well, it seems, and this is partially because these are the type of hitters some of these guys are, that But perhaps because Arrieta's a guy with, and this is kind of ironic because early in his career he was a guy who really struggled with his control, but now he's a guy who really attacks the strike zone. He's thrown first pitch strikes 68% of the time this year. That's well above league average. And it looks like the game plan for these Reds hitters is try to get on that first good fastball attack early and not have to deal with his put away stuff if you're behind in the count. We've seen a lot of early swings from the Reds. And easy peasy so far for Arrieta.
Ball one to Brian Pena. Switch hitting catcher. Interesting situation. In some ways, the Reds have been playing with 24 men for a couple of weeks. Devin Mesoraco's made a couple of pinch hitting appearances, but has not been able to catch. And they have not put him on the DL with the hip issue. So they've waited it out.
Yeah, and a lot of uncertainty as to how this is going to play out for Mesoraco. He said the other day that he was going to catch a bullpen sometime soon. And just reading between the lines of what he had to say about it, it's a little bit better. It's good when I don't move. Those kinds of comments lead you to believe that it's really
be a while
bothering him, and ultimately he may need surgery.
And because they've used him as a pinch hitter, that retroactive part of it gets tricky as Pena swings and misses. First strikeout for Arrieta, who had been getting early contact. Cub fans, make sure you check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. It's sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. It varies from team to team based on the roster makeup, but usually, JD, after about a week, when the guy can't play, that's when usually the GM and the manager say, okay, we've got to think about a deal.
Right. You got to get another body up here. We've seen the Cubs play short in terms of their bench for a while now because of the versatility of some of their players. Saw Chris Bryant in center field in Pittsburgh the other day.
He's played left as well. And no, I don't think he's going to catch. Cubs should be fine there.
They have really shortened up in the outfield for DeSclafani here. I feel like he's going to drive the ball off Arrieta, and that's a reasonable expectation.
Two slider is low. 1-0 on Miguel Montero's home run in the top of the second. The 100th of his major league career. Cubs leaders in home runs, Chris Coghlan and Miguel Montero. It's early. They each have 3.
Kind of ironic, but DeSclafani, the pitcher here, is probably having the best at bat of any of the Reds hitters. A deep at bat, at least. Pretty good hack there. At the fastball, he's there with a full count.
Swing and a miss to end the inning. 9 up, 9 down for Jake. 1-0. back home to play the Pirates and the Brewers, and then on the road at St. Louis and Milwaukee. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Big news yesterday. Huge injury in St. Louis. Adam Wainwright with an ankle, possibly an Achilles injury, and it's already being reported he could be done for the year.
That's obviously a very deep, very talented Cardinal club. Currently 12-4, first place in the division. They're still going to be good, but they're going to miss the big horse at the top of the rotation. And watch as he tries to get started out of the box. Right there, as he shifts his weight back onto that left ankle, and that looks very much like an Achilles.
Inside on Rizzo. Have you ever sprained your Achilles?
Not that I'm aware of.
Guessing you would have known had you done it.
Yeah, if you tear it, rupture it, you really know it. Guys go down like they've been shot.
Don't assume that if he is done for the year, that means the Cardinals are done. And fouled off by Rizzo. Brandon McCarthy had to leave the game. I think he gave up a home run. And
yeah, his elbow. He'd been kind of pitching with a tender elbow. Got him early in the game, and then he settled in, but never did quite feel right.
Slicing drive, just foul to left. Wasn't it Wainwright's Tommy John season? The Cardinals won the World Series.
Sounds right.
2011. Rizzo walks. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Rizzo continues to get on base. This time leading off an inning, and now Chris Bryant.
Bryant's not sneaking up on anybody with all the fanfare he received and all the damage he did in the minor leagues. Big league pitchers are pitching very carefully to him. That one is not where they wanted it. They were trying to get it in on him. We saw him hit a ball off the wall in Pittsburgh the other night in right center field. A fastball that was 4 to 6 inches off the plate inside and down. A remarkable swing of the bat.
Runner goes, pitch is in the dirt, and Rizzo steals second. He's 5 for 5.
Rizzo. Teams are going to start paying attention to Rizzo, and there you see his MO right there. Very modest lead and a great jump. Sneak attack. Well, that's one thing we've learned about Joe Madden here this year in the early going. He loves to start base runners. Cubs have been very successful stealing bases, playing a lot of hit and run, staying out of double plays because of it.
Hit hard on the ground. Oh, right through the legs of Frazier. And Rizzo will reach third, and Bryant reaches first. And that has opened the door. Instead of runner at second, one out, they're at the corners with nobody out.
Right through the 5-hole on Todd Frazier.
Now Montero homered to the opposite field in the second. Big opportunity here. Late on that swing.
Career home run for Montero, opposite field. Looked like a changeup. I didn't see a number on it.
Here's a pitch. Driven into left base hit. Rizzo's going to score. It's 2-0. Miguel Montero, 2 hits, 2 RBIs. You'll love how this lineup, top to bottom, takes the ball the other way.
Yeah, well, yeah, the approach has been really impressive. The patience for some of these hitters, willingness to shoot the ball the other way, sacrifice some power. Of course, in this ballpark, and what we've seen from Montero already, it's not something you're completely sacrificing. He's capable of going out the other way. This would be Joe Maddon's prime hit and run candidate in the batter's box, Starlin Castro. Puts the ball in play, doesn't strike out much, hits the ball on the ground a lot.
Well, you can't speak to a third baseman making an error, but you can speak as a starting pitcher who watches a third baseman open the door, and it's not a good feeling for that guy right now.
No,
Not a good feeling for the pitcher
Frazier,
either.
no, but the fielder becomes the pitcher's biggest cheerleader. Get me off the hook. Get me out of this. Pick me up.
However, you can't think too much about that during the inning because the next ball may be hit right back at you.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught dazed and confused because you're thinking about what already transpired.
The 2-1 on the way. Now 3-1. Coghlan next. Clubhouse man Gary Stark wants to wish his wife Terry a very happy birthday.
She shares a birthday with Hall of Famer Hack Wilson. He'd be 115 today.
Chop to the shortstop. They're not going to be able to turn 2 as Cozart gets Castro. And tomorrow, Bernie Stowe, the legendary clubhouse manager here in Cincinnati, will turn 80. So the Stowe's sons are celebrating here at the ballpark. Second and third, 1 out. Now Coghlan.
Coghlan's going to get the intentional walk. Arrieta will be up there with the bases loaded and 1 out. So this is Brian Price just saying, well, got a chance to get a double play and get out of it with Arrieta. I've got to get 2 outs to finish off the inning, and I'd rather, if I don't get the double play, I'd rather try to get Arrieta and Russell as opposed to Coghlan and Arrieta. Big chance for Arrieta, who might not need much more the way he's going along, but chance to help himself for sure. Also, my old teammate Mike Scott celebrating his 60th birthday today. So happy birthday
60.
to Scotty.
Is that a division clinching no hitter, right?
1986. Yes, Cy Young Award winner that year.
Strike called on Arrieta. Bryant at third, Montero at second, Coghlan at first. Cubs already leading 2-0. 0-2 on Arrieta.
How about an 0-2 bases loaded suicide squeeze if you want unconventional baseball?
What are you thinking?
Out of the Don Zimmer playbook.
Ends up just a swing and a miss and a strikeout.
That's under the category of, well, better than a ground ball back to the mound. Keeps the inning alive. Keep the line moving.
Or keep the line intact.
There you go.
Is probably the better way to say it. Don't ruin the line.
Big chance for the kid here.
Look out, the bat over the dugout. I don't know if I've seen a bat thrown that farther. That was a good 120 feet.
We could sign them up for the Highland Games. We could fling whatever it is they fling. But again, another example of Russell kind of missing in the zone. You know, not just appear to be hittable pitches, just not making contact. Tell a young kid, hey, just relax and go out and play. That's obviously much easier said than done. Youngest player in the National League, 21 years of age. He's getting his feet wet up here. He said it best the other day. He said, you know, the big leagues, it's all about winning. It's coming to the ballpark and doing whatever it takes to win that day. In the minor leagues, it's about development.
Well, the analogy you often hear about throw them in the deep end, I think it fits. This is the best level in the world. And the Cubs felt confident that he could handle it.
Well, on two fronts, whether he could handle it and perform well, or if he didn't perform well, he could handle it. Ultimately, he gets demoted and has to sort it out back in the minor leagues. And for the guys that they say, boy, they called him up. He was too early. He wasn't ready, and it ruined him. For me, how good of a player was that guy going to be anyway, right? If that demoralizes you to the point where you never make it back and don't become a productive major league player, then you probably weren't going to anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. Part of what we call talent is the ability to handle failure and how you respond to it. Bases loaded, a run in. Cubs want more. In the air out into deep right center. Back toward the wall. Off the wall. Bryant is in. Montero scores. Coghlan is in. Russell's going to move to third as the ball gets away. It's a 3-run double.
Well, how does that feel for the kid who had really been scuffling? One swing of the bat. And the Cubs now have a very comfortable margin here in the fourth inning. Walk, error, single, intentional walk, and then Russell with 2 outs makes him pay.
3-run double. The error charged to Hamilton on the relay throw. Got by Pena. And all of a sudden it's 5-0.
With Arrieta on the mound the way he's going, it feels like 10-0.
Another opposite field hit. Every hit the Cubs have today, 5 of them have been to the opposite field. Pop out by Fowler. 5 runs for the Cubs here in the first 4 innings. 3 courtesy Addison Russell. Official Cubs MasterCard debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. Montero and Russell have been the big offensive heroes early on. And Jake Arrieta doing what Jake Arrieta does, especially against the Reds. Perfect through 3 as he faces Billy Hamilton here in the bottom of the 4th with a nice cushion and a strike call. Arrieta didn't give up a base runner into the 7th inning last June 24th against the Reds. Hamilton broke it up with a single to lead off that inning. He no-hit the Red Sox in his next start at Fenway Park into the 8th, and then took a no-hitter into the 7th, September 16th against the Reds. So he's a quick starter.
Yeah, and we looked it up last year. I think last season he was maybe 3rd in the National League in terms of 3 up, 3 down innings. Somewhere in the top 5.
Slicing drive, Coghlan makes the running grab.
And I don't know if anybody would want to research this, but I wonder how many guys are better than him last year in this in terms of 9 up, 9 down, because that seems to happen a high percentage of the time. He just buzzes through that lineup the first time. And that early game efficiency allows him to pitch deep into ball games. 37 pitches so far for Arrieta.
Otto fouls that one off himself. Going back to yesterday, did you not mention to me that Tom Browning's perfect game came on a day like yesterday after
after a long rain delay?
A long delay. Browning here as part of the 25th anniversary celebration of the Reds' 90 championship season. Votto strikes out.
This Friday, the Cubs take on the Brewers. First pitch is at 1:20, and the first 10,000 fans at the ballpark will receive a Wrigley Field football presented by Wintrust Community Banks. Remember, they used to play a lot of football there at Wrigley Field. For more information or to purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Coming up Tuesday, Michael Irvin, Kurt Warner will throw out ceremonial first pitches. Ickey Woods on Wednesday. Next Sunday, Robbie Gold.
Get some cold cuts. Get some cold cuts. That last pitch called the ball?
I guess it was.
This is a fine looking offering.
Yanked into the left field corner. Gone. A home run. Todd Frazier went down to get it. Trying to make up for that error. That's number 5 for him.
First one allowed by Jake Arrieta this year. Frazier's a strong man. We've seen him hit balls to the deepest part of this ballpark. And this is a curveball that he appears to be fooled by. I mean, that's a good pitch. Look where that thing ends up. Down below the knees. A good job by Frazier keeping his hands back and coming through the zone with a little authority.
Strike one on Phillips. So Arrieta retired the first 11 Reds before that home run by Frazier. And Jake took a little too long for Phillips' liking, so he asked for time and got it from Laz Diaz.
Yeah, he went through a stretch in that ball game against Pittsburgh last time out where he retired 16 in a row. Very methodical. He has been carving up National League hitters.
Slider strike. Arrieta, 29 years old. Grew up in Texas. Went to Weatherford College and then TCU. 5th rounder of the Baltimore Orioles in 2007. He has been lights out as a Chicago Cub. When he came here from Baltimore, his career earned run average was 5.46. He's made 37 starts with the Cubs and has a 2.71. Line the other way. Phillips with the base hit.
Changeup from Arrieta and a nice piece of hitting by Phillips. He talked about the Cubs and the good job they've done going the other way today. Here's Phillips doing the same thing. He's playing a little pepper with Soler out there in right field.
Hit number 18 on the season for Phillips. They've all been singles. Snag the backhand by Montero.
So for the first time today, Arrieta working from the stretch, although the stretch position not a whole lot different from his regular windup.
Got a tweet from Paul Bender, big Cub fan. He says Jake Arrieta looks like President Garfield. I'll have to defer to you on that one. Or a resident.
Garfield, I think he's a Cincinnati guy, isn't he?
He might be
an Ohio guy.
Our resident U.S. historian, Skip Ellison, our director, could chime in on that.
We have to go to the Google machine. If you type in Garfield, are you likely to get the president or the cat?
You tell me.
I got a lot of cat. I'm gonna have to go a couple pages to. Oh, there he is over there. James Garfield. He's the 20th president.
Swing and a miss.
Well, he had a beard. And apparently a pretty good slider, but I can't. Everybody in baseball looks like these old-timey presidents with the facial hair.
Right. '20th president of the United States.
Born in Moreland Hills, Ohio. Okay. I'm not sure exactly where that is.
He wasn't president for long.
No.
Assassinated September of 1881. Ground ball into center field for Bosch. So that is 3 consecutive 2-out hits, a home run and 2 singles as they try to get back into this game.
Well, that's the other piece of the equation when you look at Jake's kind of game by game log and the way that the games have played out for him. He's had just a handful of innings where he's given up damage, and it's hits in succession. And I guess it just stands out because so many of his other innings are clean. And there's President Garfield.
We put a Cub hat on President Garfield. Or a bow tie on Jake Arrieta. Yeah, I see it.
I have to tell Jake after the game he's got a new nickname. Garfield. The Prez.
Bird pulls it foul.
Reds trying to make a little noise here in the bottom half of the 4th. They already have with Frazier's home run. Bird has power. He's only hit 1 home run. That came earlier this week against the Brewers. He struck out a bunch.
Right field, and it will be foul. That probably scores 2.
Yeah, that would have changed the feel of this ball game. Bird trying to carve one into the right field corner. You've got to be a little careful. That slider there stayed on the plate. And again, there are certain hitters, when you have a no ball 2-strike count, you want to press your advantage because they're so patient. If you try to nibble, they're just going to work their way back into the count. That's not the case with Marlon Bird. He's that free swinging type that if you're going to go low, you want to go lower than low, or wider than wide. Really take advantage of his willingness to expand. And I'm sure that's what Jake was trying to do. He just didn't make the pitch.
Pitch number 25 of this 4th inning.
Possibly too many strikes. Did you make that case? Maybe. It all depends on the situation. Curveball that Frazier hit for a home run was a good pitch.
Well, he's got him in swing mode here, 0-2. Sometimes in this spot, JD, it's who gives in, right? I mean, if Arrieta finds too much of the plate, that could be trouble. And if Bird continues to fish, maybe he can get him to hit something, or at least try to way out of the zone.
Yeah, and I think that's should be the game plan here.
Phillips at second, Bosch at first. He wanted to, and he was able to hold up. 1-2.
You know, inside, deep into the numbers kind of stuff. Marlon Byrd among the leaders in Major League Baseball, swinging at pitches outside of the zone 44% of the time. And he has swung at a higher percentage of pitches than anybody in baseball. So he's hacking.
Swings and misses. Back-to-back curves for Arrieta. Bird could not hold off on that last pitch. They get one on the Frazier homer. It's 5-1 after 4. His bank. Todd Frazier with a big error in the top of the fourth, but he came back to hit a home run to get the Reds on the board. Ball one on Jorge Soler. So all 4 runs were unearned in that 4th inning. driven the other way. That slicing line drive is handled by Bosch.
A behind the scenes look at beautiful Wrigley Field. The Cubs offer 90-minute guided tours that include a chance to actually step on the field. This must-see Chicago attraction houses over 100 years of history. For more information, visit Cubs.com/tours. You know what happened on this date in 1941 at Wrigley Field?
Tell me.
The first ever organ in a major league ballpark was introduced.
Any idea what the first song was?
Uptown Funk.
I was going with Smells Like Teen Spirit.
It's a beautiful day for. That's probably what it was. Roy Nelson was at the keyboard.
Finishing the suspended game on the south side of Chicago, Royals and White Sox 2-2 in the bottom of the ninth before the regularly scheduled game. They were postponed yesterday. Nice grab by Pena over near the Cubs on deck circle. So 2 outs, and it'll bring up Bryant.
So the 4 runs against DeSclafani unearned in the 4th inning, as Len mentioned. But as a pitcher, you still take ownership. You have to be able to pitch around an error every now and then, get your guys off the hook. So culpability to go around defensively and with DeSclafani there in the 4th. His ERA will not take that big of a hit unless the Cubs do some more damage against him. He came in with an 0.86, best mark in the NL.
The reaching on the error does not help his on base percentage. That question was asked. Well, they do keep the stat ROE, reached on error. We'll see a lot of fast guys occasionally lead the league in that department, putting pressure on the defense to make a play. Hooked into the corner, foul.
Brian having a very nice road trip. 421, 8 out of 19 coming into play today. A couple of doubles, 6 driven in, scored 5 runs, worked 5 walks. Does not appear to be a real steep learning curve for Chris Bryant here at the big league level. A lot of mascots here in Cincinnati.
Last year, Starling Marte, Gene Segura led the majors with 11 instances of reaching on an error. Evan Longoria, Jose Reyes near the top.
So they create turnovers.
I guess.
They'd be like
I mean, Albert Pujols said 9. He's not very fast, so I guess sometimes it's just a coincidence. But they do keep that stat. Marte had 25 infield hits, 7 bunts. Segura 37 and 8. So I guess you could make the correlation there that they just simply reach base a lot.
Hit the ball on the ground a lot.
Yeah. Swing and a miss to end the inning. Mascot heaven here at Great American Ballpark. They're out in droves.
Baseball summer camps presented by ATI Physical Therapy offer children ages 5 to 13 the ultimate major league experience. 1-week sessions in the Chicago area. Suit up in Cubs gear, meet a current Cub player, receive top-notch baseball instruction. First camp kicks off in Lake Forest on June 22nd. So sign up now, Cubs.com/camps.
Zach Cozart.
Strike one. Here's the big mascot race. Look out. Run over our third baseman. It's Mr. Redlegs sprinting to the finish line.
And a base hit. Long retro sheet article about the reaching on an error. A lot of people tweeting, what about guys who hit the ball really hard? That would make sense. Create more errors. I don't have time to read all of it, but I'll tweet it and you can read it.
So it brings up this question.
Yes, strike call.
So there's a StatCast now and all this technology in the ballparks where they can measure exit velocity, balls off the bat, and things like that.
Right.
Well, official scorers then have access to that information in real time and be able to say, well, it's 104 miles an hour off the bat, too hot to handle. You know, those kind of betweeners where they don't know whether to call it a hit or an error.
Not a bad idea. It's the only question would be the raw numbers wouldn't necessarily tell you something. If the ball's at 98 miles an hour, you need is that above average?
Right,
like
you'd have to determine what a cutoff point is. It would have to be an official too hot to handle velocity. Well, then you could get into side spin, spin rate, and all kinds of craziness.
Skip Schumacher is going to hit for the pitcher DeSclafani.
Good try by Arrieta, maybe just a little bit off that outside corner. Double play candidate if he hits it on the ground. Jake had in mind with that backdoor cutter. That speaks to the confidence he has in that pitch. 3 balls, 1 strike. For a power guy, there's almost no such thing as a fastball count for Arrieta in terms of the hitter sitting on a heater.
And it's going to be Devin Mesoraco, more of a home run threat here than Schumacher, who is a ground ball hitter.
And Brian Price just figuring he's got a chance here to really tighten this game up with 1 swing of the bat. Chris Spazio is going to come out and refresh everybody on what they want to do with Mesoraco.
Meanwhile, it does get the Cubs offense into what has been a problem area for the Reds, and that is their bullpen in the 6th. But first things first, there's Kevin Gregg, the former Cub.
Yeah, I think it's just a couple of things at play here. Arrieta has been so good. Brian Price sees this as an opportunity to do some damage. And then with the rain out yesterday, everybody's had a chance to recharge their batteries in the bullpen. So easier to make that quicker move to the pen.
So some trouble here for Arrieta. Cozart at second, Pena at first. The pitch to the pinch hitter, Mesoraco, misses, ball 1. He had the kind of offensive season last year that had us mentioning the name Johnny Bench. That's pretty good. Last year he joined bench, the only catchers in Reds history with at least 25 homers and 80 RBIs in a season.
Yeah, and that's the reason why there's some optimism here in Cincinnati with, with what he did. Todd Frazier was an all-star as well as Mesoraco. They had off years or injured years from Votto, Phillips, and Bruce, 3 mainstays. So the thinking here was if Mesoraco and Frazier are for real, and then those other 3 guys get back to doing what they normally do.
Back-to-back walks, and the bases are loaded for the top of the order.
Yeah, boy, the feel of this game has changed dramatically.
So 11 in a row retired by Arrieta. 6 of the last 7 batters have now reached.
Right off the line, but in at third. Play for 2 in the middle. Not easy with Hamilton's speed.
Now back 0-2. This is a key out even if you give up a run, because Joey Votto is next. If you don't get Hamilton, you are really asking for trouble in this lineup. Bounce to Castro. He's got to wait back, and he's only going to be able to get 1 out at second base. Fielder's choice for Hamilton as Cozart scores, and it's 5-2. So they're at the corners with 1 away for Votto. Not the best result, not the worst result.
No, and even on a fairly routine ground ball, Hamilton's tough to double up with his high chopper. There's no other option for Castro but to run to the bag. Good decision not to make that throw.
Got to assume Hamilton's going to try to steal second at some point in this sequence. And there he goes on the very first pitch, and Votto fouls. He got a great jump. I think Arrieta's just deciding not to worry about him. The good news here is, JD, he can't steal third.
Yeah, he can't steal third, and if he does steal second base, then Arrieta can be really careful with Votto with the base open. He's going to be careful with Votto anyway. Whoop.
Almost threw it away.
This is where that old fake to third, back to first move would help. It's illegal now. But just the threat of that might tighten up a would-be base stealer a little bit.
Hamilton runs. The pitch is inside. The throw goes through, and he beats it by a mile. There's 13th. He's only been caught once this year.
Yeah, much better in that regard than he was last year. His success rate was not all that good last year.
He was caught 23 times, the most in the majors, even though he had 56 steals. Swing and a miss, 1-2.
Trying to run that cutter in on the hands of Votto. Didn't get it there, but he got away with it. situation where back in the day, especially with Tony La Russa, you might see the infielders crash mid-pitch. You don't see anybody do that anymore. When they'd start back, and as the pitch was about to be delivered, you see those infielders crash.
2-2. Frazier, who hit the home run, is on deck. Arrieta set at the belt. Outside, ball 3.
And Votto's an example of that kind of hitter I was talking about earlier, where, you know, with Bird, you get ahead of him, you just stay out of the zone because you know ultimately he's going to swing. Votto's a guy, if you give up an 0-2 hit to a guy like Joey Votto, there's no shame in it. You press your advantage when you're ahead of him, because if you nibble, he's likely to work it all the way back to full.
Right-hander Gonzalez German is up in the Cubs bullpen. 3-2 on the way. Close pitch, ball 4. Third walk of the inning.
It's just amazing how quickly things have turned around here for Arrieta. In the first 3 innings of this game, if you were to tell me the Cubs would have somebody up in the bullpen in the 5th inning, I would have told you you're nuts.
Frazier went down and hit a curveball out toward the end of the bat for a home run in the 4th inning. That was their first hit of the ball game after Arrieta had retired 11 in a row. Bases loaded, and the pitch. It's a strike.
You might be tempted to say, down goes Frazier, to get that low curveball, but it would be silly to say that.
One strike in last year's All-Star.
The guy can reach out and hit that low curveball. Not a bad idea to straighten him up with a little inside heat. Arrieta, last time he pitched in this ballpark, had a rough one. Allowed 6 runs in 4 innings. One of the rare off outings for him last year. Not given up more than 3 runs in a start since that game back in August.
Two and two. Avisail Garcia, the game-ending single for the White Sox, who beat the Royals 3-2 on a game that will be logged as being played on Friday. It started Friday and it ended just now. 2-2 to Frazier. Popped him up. Foul territory. It'll be Rizzo. Two down in the inning.
That pitch had some action, late movement in toward the hands. Receiver number 4 is that slider down and away, and they come back with 94 with action moving in on the hands. Quality pitch. Yep.
Phillips 1 for 2 with a single in the 4th. Bases still loaded, 2 outs. Slider strike. Castro. The flip, Russell at second, and a fist pump from Arrieta. He gives up one, but limits the damage, 5-2. Win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu from Subway. Subway, eat fresh. Well, Jake Arrieta got out of a major jam, allowing only 1 run, and the Cubs leading 5-2 now get into the Reds bullpen. And it's Kevin Gregg who will face Miguel Montero to start the 6th.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for the veteran right-hander with the Reds this year. The former Cub has struggled to the tune of a 10.29 ERA. He's worked 7 innings and allowed 3 home runs. Reds bullpen has had a hard time here. First month of the season.
That one knocked down the catcher, Pena. Oh, I just tore a hamstring watching that. Been a good day for the Cubs catcher. A home run, a single, 2 knocked in, 2 runs. Average has gone up from 176 to 222. Congrats to the Chicago Blackhawks. They're on to round 2. Thrilling finish last night. Game 6, they beat the Preds. Bulls could not close the deal in Milwaukee, but still a commanding 3-1 lead in their best of 7. Two on the way and fouled off the mask of Pena.
Corey Crawford came out of the bullpen last night in relief of Darling. Did a nice job. That was a very entertaining game. The whole series was. With that short arm delivery, fastball, sinker, cut it, splitter. "36 years of age, broke in with the Angels in 03.
Strike 3 called. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Great to have you with us on good old Channel 9 today as the Cubs look for the 2-game rain-shortened series sweep. Off the end of the bat, poked into right for Castro's first knock of the day.
Our opposite field hit theme continues. Well, I don't know that Starlin so much as goes the other way or it ends up the other way. It's all about his eye-hand coordination. That butt was kind of leaning towards the Cubs dugout, but the great eye-hand coordination allows him to make pretty good contact and another knock.
I feel like that's kind of the baseball hokey pokey. Keep your right hand in, stick your rear end out. Swing and a miss by Coghlan. Yeah, it is really all about the hands for a guy like Castro. It can look very awkward at times.
Yeah,
it always finds a way to make contact.
That skill, that eye-hand coordination, the ability to get the bat on the ball has served him well.
The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pirates look for the sweep in Arizona today. They've won 4 in a row, and they'll be the Cubs' next opponent at Wrigley Field, so they'll get in pretty late tonight. From Phoenix. Jason Hamill will pitch tomorrow night against Vance Worley. Travis Wood, Jeff Locke on Tuesday. Kyle Hendricks, Garrett Cole on Wednesday. All night games.
Worley and Locke we just saw in the series in Pittsburgh. It'll be our first look at Garrett Cole, who's the leader of the pack in that rotation now.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
How do you get to Wrigley Field? Well, the Cubs suggest the use of public transportation. If you're a bike rider, use the Cubs courtesy bike check. That's located near Clark and Addison. For drivers, the Cubs provide free parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. That's located at 3900 North Rockwell. For details, visit Cubs.com. How often can I use my Carnegie Hall joke before it gets old? How do you get to Wrigley Field? Practice, practice, practice.
I'd say once a week.
Once a week
works. Yeah. New audience every once in a while. I will always laugh as if I've heard it for the first time.
I appreciate that.
Oh, you're so funny.
What a card.
Greg chomping on that gum. 1-2.
Kevin was a Cub in 09, again in 2013. Ended up closing games for the Cubs a couple years ago. Had 33 saves and 38 tries.
Bouncer to Frazier. Short toss to Phillips, and the inning comes to an end. Not sure what happened there. 5-2 Cubs.
Arrieta retired the first 11 men he faced today, and the next 11, 7 have reached. So he's worked awfully hard the last couple innings, and you see the pitch count by inning. They're very efficient through the first 3, but he has worked awfully hard in the 4th and 5th. 29 pitches in each of the last 2 frames. It had Gonzalez German up in the bullpen last inning. And perhaps a change would have been made, but he's Jake Arrieta. He's one of the best pitchers in the National League, and he's working now down towards the bottom of the Reds lineup.
Facing Brennan Bosch. He hits it foul out of play. Bosch, a guy whose first name ends up being Brendan for a lot of people. It's not. It's Brennan. But the mind works in funny ways. Yeah. You see it and you go, Brendan Bosch. No, it's Brennan.
And Brendan Bosch really rolls off the tongue a lot easier than Brennan.
Knocked down. Castro from a knee. Out at first. What a play. Nice throw from a somewhat prone position.
Yeah, boy, and we just showed you all the work that Arrieta had to do the last couple innings with all those pitches. So nice to get some help from your mates. Castro, a sparkling play. Getting on top of the throw was the key. To get up on top and get a little something extra on that throw. Shorthand pick on the backhand side. Short hop, I should say. Nice play. Bosch retired. Both parts outstanding. The glove work and then the good, strong, accurate throw.
German, the right-hander. Koch is the lefty. Mr. Strode alerting the dugout as to who's ready. A 1-2 from Arrieta is high. Key strikeout of Bird on a curveball in the dirt with 2 on to end the 4th.
A lot of traffic, but just singletons for the Reds in the 4th and 5th. Pretty typical, Arrieta cruising through the first 3 innings, but just about every start you have as a pitcher, there's going to be a couple crisis points, innings where the team has a chance to inflict some serious damage on you, and sometimes your fate will be determined as to how well you handle it. Arrieta limiting the damage in both of those innings. That was some good defense and a little run support, and you can be a big winner.
Cool and sunny. Temps in the upper 50s. Wind not a factor. And a gorgeous day here in Cincinnati. MLB.TV Premium is #1 for streaming live sports. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Foul tip, strike 3.
Number 5 for Arrieta. Second time he's gotten Bird. This time not the curveball down, but the slider up and out over the plate. Gets a swing and miss.
How about the Astros leading the American League West? 17 games in. They're 10-7, and that includes 6-2 on the road.
Trying to sweep Oakland here today.
With the additions of Luis Valbuena and Matt Bolts, longtime Cubs radio engineer, now working with the Astros. We want to wish Matt and Melissa and their entire family the best as they begin a new journey.
Yeah, I think Boltsy's probably had a lot to do with that. Good start by the Astros. Buenitz had some big hits.
Called strike 3, and the inning is over. 6 punch outs for Arrieta, and getting some help from his defense. Terrific play by Castro. Cam. Honey, I'm good. It's Andy Grammer. And our fan camp for today, Chris Bosio and Jake Arrieta talking about his outing today. Probably done after 6 quality innings. And if so, a strong finish for him. Here's Chicago area native Tony Cingrani for the first time in 12 days out of the bullpen.
Like a caller to a radio talk show. First time, long time. Cingrani, former starting pitcher, may ultimately end up back in the rotation at some point. Christopher Negron takes over in left. Cingrani, excuse me, a good lively heater. He works up in the zone. It's some deception with that fastball, slider, and a changeup. As a reliever, he'll probably be more a fastball slider.
Russell with an infield pop-up. Votto says, I got it, I got it. He's got it. Let's look at our Mazda replay cam. All these opposite field hits, just the swings. Thing of beauty. Hitting coaches love it.
Yeah, I talk about hitting the inside of the baseball. It's not like opposite field hits have any more value than hits to the pull side, but it speaks to a solid approach. The hitters are willing to stay on the ball and take what's given to you, hit the ball the other way.
Mazda conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way.
John Maley, the first-year hitting coach of the Cubs.
And his assistant, Eric Hinsky. Moved from the first base coach to assistant hitting coach. Outside on
and
Fowler.
The modern player loves to hit. A lot of time in the cage, a lot of work on drills. So those guys are very busy men.
Strike 3 to end the at bat. First punch out for Cingrani.
Bottom of the knees, outside edge of the outside corner. Very much a borderline pitch, but a quality pitch.
So you're going to go that specific, the outside edge of the outside corner.
The stitch of the baseball caught the very edge of the corner of home plate. That's how good Laz Diaz is today.
2-0 on Soler. He's been quiet, but other guys have not. Montero and Russell coming up with big hits. Montero with a home run and 2 RBIs. Russell with a 3-run double.
Change the eye level on you with that fastball. Go up around the letters, down around the knees.
Cingrani, born in Evergreen, Illinois, went to Lincoln Way Central High in New Lenox. I think New Lenox should be the new name of Eurythmics.
I'd endorse that.
Swing and a miss, and that'll end the inning. We're going to keep it here on Sunday for God Bless America. Now Reds public address announcer Joe Zerhusen.
At this time, we ask that you please stand, kindly remove your hats, and face the American flag. Major League Baseball, the Reds and the Cubs salute the men and women of our armed forces, as well as those who serve to protect in our local police and fire departments. At this time, please help us honor these brave men and women and all our veterans of service as we welcome Esan Walker, who will lead us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Good finish, struggled a little bit in the middle, but left with a 3-run lead.
And he was dominant early, retired the first 11 men he faced, and then he was resourceful when he needed to be, worked out of trouble, allowing single runs in the 4th and the 5th, when the Reds were poised to do a little more damage. Another solid effort for Arrieta. 4 out of 4 now in terms of quality starts this year. And speaking of quality, he hands the ball to young left-hander Zach Roskup, who's been really, really good.
Some switch hitting Brian Pena, batting right-handed, and he fouls out of play. 5-2, the Cubs lead here in the 7th.
Roskup has faced 24 batters so far this year. He's allowed 2 hits and a walk, 1 run. One of those 2 hits a home run. He's punched out 9. It's kind of like Cingrani in that he very effective in moving the fastball up and down the ladder in the strike zone. He gets swings and misses and weak contact up in the zone, and then after throwing some fastballs up, he can freeze hitters with a good fastball down around the knees.
The 1-2 pulled, foul, just foul. No argument from Jim Riggleman, the third base coach. More injury news. Yasiel Puig goes to the DL for the Dodgers. He's got a hamstring injury, and you see pretty easy call to make for third base umpire Jeff Nelson. Scott Baker, the former Cub, will start today for the Dodgers in San Diego. He's up for AAA. He really pitched a 7-inning perfect game against the Iowa Cubs the other day.
Fifth starter spot been a little bit of a revolving door for the Dodgers.
Wafted to left. Chris Coghlan will put it in his pocket.
7 home runs hit in the Dodger-Padre game at Petco last night. Strange must have been in the air in San Diego.
Adrian Gonzalez has, what, 7 overall? He's hit 6 against the Padres.
You would think he's holding a grudge of some sort.
Want to know on Christopher Negron. This is his first at bat. Just came in to play left. Getting a lot of good responses on the 7th inning stretch. Singer who did God Bless America. He was great. Isan Walker. That was a fantastic rendition. Soler's got it. Negron lines out.
Whether it's been a mechanical adjustment or just getting comfortable at the big league level, Zach Roskup much more confident in his stuff. You just see it in his body language. Working quickly between pitches, attacking the strike zone with that good heater slider combination.
Bunt. Takes it low. 2-1. Fowler is going to have to chase this one down. It should be 3 easily. And don't bobble a relay throw. It's a triple.
A lot of times with 2 outs and nobody on, your outfielders will play deep and in no doubles deployment, but that doesn't make sense against Hamilton. If he gets a single, he's likely to steal second base anyway. So understandable that Fowler had really shortened up for Hamilton. But in this instance, it burns him a little bit as Hamilton drives it over his head. And off he goes.
Park can be a little bit like Coors Field because the home run friendly fences. Never quite comfortable in the late innings. And 3-0 on Votto. Frazier on deck, and he would be the tying run.
Don't want to give extra chances in this ballpark. Limit the walks. Don't kick it around. Not that that works anywhere. More likely to pay for it in a ballpark like this.
Three and two. Back in it. We got Tim Roth, Zach Roskup. Hello, honey bunny. Yeah, I see it.
We got Roth and Garfield today.
Zach Rothcup.
Votto, a tough guy to finish off. He was 0 for 5 on Friday, and he took an 0 for 4 in the final game of their series in Milwaukee.
So Andrew McCutchen is going through the longest 0 for of his career. I want to say 0 for 16. I don't know if that's good or bad with the series against the Pirates coming up.
You know, he's going to break out sooner or later. 10 multi-hit games for Votto already this year. Exactly 2 hits in all 10 of those ball games.
Swing and a miss. Roskup comes all the way back to strike out Votto. We'll see Chris Bryant batting second in the 8th. Cubs leading by 3. garage sales event. Now at your Honda dealer. Miguel Montero with a milestone homer. That put the Cubs out in front, and they have not trailed since. Jake Arrieta retired the first 11. He went 6 innings today and is the Cubs pitcher of record. His job, Zach Roscup. Pedro Strop is available today. A couple of days in which he was not available because of a foot issue, but that has been resolved. Pretty decent chance we'll see him here late. Cingrani went 1, 2, 3 in the 7th. Cingrani from Evergreen. I should have added Park. Evergreen Park, Illinois.
And then on to Rice University, right?
Yep.
He struggled for a time and almost quit. Hung in there, and here he is, a big leaguer.
Yeah, you have a few of those stories that go around baseball. I remember Mike Redmond. I want to say he was at Double-A catching in the Marlins organization, and somebody gently said, maybe you want to think about being a coach. Said, no, I'm going to keep trying, and he's happy he did. Had a nice long major league career. Now he's managing the Marlins. May have been a manager anyway, but his savings account would look a little different.
Yeah, that's tough news to get to. From as a prospect, we view you as a coach.
You'd make a great coach.
Yeah.
Rizzo lines out. Well, you always have to be a little careful when you talk to veteran players. I've had this happen before, where you just kind of ask the innocent question. Hey, have you thought about being a coach when you retire? And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm not retired. I'm still a player. I mean, yes, but I mean, after.
What are you hearing? What do you know? What do you
retire? Yeah. I'm not saying today. Two and 0. A lot of people in the game think David Ross will be in uniform long after he retires as a player, and will be on that fast track to be a manager.
Have you asked him?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. He is not one of those guys who will bristle at the idea of what he might do after he's done playing, because I think he knows that it's not that far down the road. He's 38. Bryant bounces to Frazier. Unlike earlier, when Frazier committed an enormous error in this game, leading to 4 unearned runs, this time he makes the play. And 2 outs in the inning, and here's Montero. I'm sure we've asked you this before and you've talked about it, but I'll ask again. 95 was your last year in the big leagues. You became a broadcaster in 97. So when you retired as a player, was that even on the radar for you, or did you just want to get away for
the broadcasting part of
it?
I wanted to get away. It was something I thought about off and on throughout my playing career, that I might want to do it. You know, you think about, as a player, you think about the different ways you could stay in the game if you're interested, and obviously coaching is one path, broadcasting another. Yeah, I kind of thought about it, but didn't actively do anything about it until the opportunity presented itself. It's kind of my approach to life. But I bet you if you were to do a survey of active players, that the old who would be the best manager, or who would be the best candidates to manage at some point, David Ross's name would show up on a lot of those ballots.
Well, the trend now, we can call it that, is former players almost immediately jumping in to that manager's chair, or former big leaguers with a lot of time as a player being hired as a manager without any minor league managerial experience. Paul Molitor, Robin Ventura, Mike Matheny,
Brad
Ausmus. Frazier again to get Montero. Cingrani does his job. Cubs bullpen hoping to close this thing out. 6 outs to go, leading 5-2. At home at 10-7 to start the season.
3-run lead, 6 outs to get. Feel pretty comfortable, but as you said, in this ballpark, things can turn in a hurry. But Pedro Strop, very reliable. Other than reliable, untouchable. ERA of 0 so far, 9 appearances. Allowed just 2 hits and 7 in the 3rd inning. Struck out 10, walked a couple. Worked twice in the Pirates series. Did not work Friday in the extra inning game. Foot issue Len talked about.
For your scheduling purposes, FYI, the 2 rainouts have not yet been announced in terms of a makeup date. April 7th, Cubs and the Cardinals. They'll have to make that up at Wrigley Field, and then the rainout here yesterday.
Cubs' next trip here is in the 3rd week of July. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3-game set. There's a mutual off day on that Thursday. They would play on the off day or maybe play a split doubleheader one of the previous days. Mixed bag for Frazier today. Critical error. And he also has hit a home run, his 5th.
In the air out into left center. Tracking it is Fowler. One away. Detroit leading Cleveland late. Indians batting in the top of the 8th. It's 7-3 Tigers. Miguel Cabrera has homered, his third. He's got 3 hits. He's hitting .377. It would be a series win for the Tigers. Bryant to Rizzo. Phillips is gone. Now Bosch.
Marlins looking to sweep the Nationals. Have a 6-2 lead there in the bottom of the 8th. It will be 5 in a row for the Marlins if they get it.
Yeah, there's that first week panic. Then things kind of start to settle in. There still may be panic in Milwaukee as the Brewers 3-15, but the White Sox, for instance, they're 7-9. So
yeah.
Within 2 of 500 after that slow start.
I don't even know if in Milwaukee they've had time to panic. They just may have moved into doom.
With
just straight into gloom. Yeah, there's no panic. Oh no, we're toast. 3-15, 10 games behind the Cardinals starting play today.
Yeah, and leading 3-0. They're in the 4th inning. Well, what tends to happen with stuff like this, you hear the worst start in franchise history, and then ball hit hard on the ground, but Castro handles it. Elias gets involved stats, and they say the last team or the only team to do this, they can do it, but they've got to do something historic. 5-2 late, Cubs with the lead. Handshake and a hug from his pitching coach. J.J. Hoover will work here in the top of the 9th.
He worked a scoreless 10th on Friday with a couple of strikeouts for the season. 2-0 with a 6.75 ERA. So Browning was really good today. A couple perfect innings with 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, their bullpen isn't allowed a run, starting with Kevin Gregg in the 6th. Sure, there are some Red fans saying, "Well, yeah, we're down. We're down 5-2. How 3 scoreless innings when we're ahead 5-2. You just don't know sometimes. Game situations change.
Good heater there from Hoover. And despite that high ERA, he's been pretty good this year. It's so early in the year, one bad outing can really affect that earned run average, and that's the case with Hoover. He allowed 4 earned runs in a third of an inning the other day in Milwaukee.
Love Joe Maddon's line to the media the other day. He said, perfection is overrated. This game would be boring if everything happened perfectly. You strive for it. Now back.
Yeah, and once you're perfect, the expectations go sky high. I kind of like mediocrity.
It's the Bob Uecker theory.
Cruising along.
Well, that's why you're up here, not down there.
It was wonderful. Do it again.
Phillips to Votto.
The thing about baseball is you have to care a whole lot. There are times you have to convince yourself that it's not that important. You got to be able to turn the pressure off a little bit to survive in this game.
Hamilton with the catch. Yeah, this is a different sport than the other ones. In hockey and basketball and football, if you try harder, you grit your teeth a little more, generally that's going to make you better, make your team better, but not so much in this game.
Yeah, in most sports you feed off the adrenaline and the energy. In baseball, you kind of have to dial it back a little bit, stay under control, kind of like golf.
Except for running the bases and a lot of times on defense. A lot of starting and stopping. I know some people scoff at baseball players and pitchers being called athletes, but I think a lot of the injuries do occur, JD, because of that part of the game.
Yeah, the sudden burst.
Yeah. Hamstrings and things like that. Who was it who said you can't pull fat? Is it Rod Beck?
That or John Kruk?
Yeah. Pinch hitter Castillo takes ball 2. 2-2.
Two out of 6 in the pinch with a home run for Castillo.
Ball 4. Jason Hayward out of the game for the Cardinals in Milwaukee today. Apparently has a left leg injury. Haven't seen anything on the severity. Russell, biggest hit today, cleared the bases with a double back in the 4th. That made it 5-0. Some pitchers said you can't pull fat. I've heard, since I said it, Rod Beck, David Wells, Ray King. I don't know who originally said it, but it's a good one.
Babe Ruth.
We go to the bottom of the ninth. It's 5-2. The Reds to start this long season series, and it will be a save opportunity for the closer Hector Rondon in a 3-run lead.
Hector 3 out of 4 in save opportunities this year. He worked the 11th here the other night in 1-2-3 fashion. Faced the 3 hitters who were scheduled in this inning. Bird, Cozart, Pena, but Jay Bruce is going to take the at bat for Marlon Bird.
Long run over, but no play for Soler. Big crowd, as we mentioned earlier. 38,954 in the somewhat new ballpark. I always like to say in the old ballpark. Can't really say that about Great American Ballpark, opened in 2003. It will host the All-Star game this season. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, 1 down.
So Bruce fares no better than Bird, who was 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts, 97 miles an hour. Just threw it right by him. Jay Bruce hearing some boo birds as he makes his way back to the Reds dugout. Coming off a tough year. Been a rough start for him.
Cozart bounces to Castro, the shortstop. Throw to first. 2 down. Ryan Pena. Some fans in blue chanting "Let's go Cubbies." As a few Reds fans are heading for the exits. One strike on Pena. Two strikes. Rondon not messing around. Pulled down the right field line. Well, you can't pull fat, but apparently you can pull a double. Pena keeps the Reds alive for Negron.
Slider stayed on the plates. Only able to get out in front of it. Get himself a 2-out double. The Reds still have a faint heartbeat here this afternoon.
Tying run is Billy Hamilton. He's in the on-deck circle. Rondon's pitch. 1-2.
Reds are 0 for 14 in the ballgame Friday with runners in scoring position. They had a couple opportunities in the middle innings of this game to do significant damage. Weren't able to get the big hit.
Cubs are trying to complete a 4-2 road trip. And he went strike 3. Ball game over. Cubs win. Cubs win 5-2. Rain shortened weekend, but they sweep both games. Addison Russell with the 3-run double to put this game out of reach. We'll be back in a moment.